Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Biz Chicks TV. We are here with our guest today, Miss Enrica Greathouse, and she's going to be talking to us about marketing. We hope that you will get a pen and pencil ready so that you can prepare to take down all this information that's going to be coming for today.
Right.
So,
So,
without further ado, we're going to bring Miss Greathouse into the studio. She's from
and
Small
and
Gorillas.
I want to do a little bit. I'm going to bring her in, but I want to do a little bit on her bio,
Mm-hmm.
and so we can get to know her a little
Mm-hmm.
better. So let me pull that up right now. I should have had it pulled up already. So thank you for your patience. Okay, so Enrica Greathouse. She's the founder of Small Gorilla Marketing and the community advocate for the Story Republic and a head coach for Seth Godin's Alt MBA. And she believes that stories are the thread that weave us together. In her work as a global facilitator, she helps people see the wisdom they already carry. So, so Enrica, talk to us. What?
Hey,
Good
sorry,
Hey,
I didn't mean
morning.
to. Good morning. So good to be here early. I'm on the Pacific. I'm not sure where everybody's from, but I'm in the West Coast, and so it's early, raining here. But I am happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the intro as well. I didn't mean to
well,
cut you
thank
off.
you.
Go ahead, Francine.
No, no, no. Thank you for taking the time out of your morning to join with us today. We have TK over here also on Clubhouse. And so she's dropping in and listening in. And I'm expecting some more people will be dropping in as well. So you are with Small Gorilla Marketing. So tell us a little bit about how you got started with that.
How I got started? Oh, that is a question. Well, I was in my own business doing designing websites and creative. My husband Joshua was in his business running Jump Media, doing videography and cinematography for different narrative clients, and look sometimes some corporate clients. And then what year was that? Before the pandemic, maybe 2017, 2019, I think. 2007, between 2018, 2019. But I gotta probably pin down that date. But I was walking and I was like, what does it look like? What would it look like if we combined our businesses? And we did. And I came up with the term small guerrilla marketing because I am a fan of Jay Conrad's guerrilla marketing, and so I was just going through names, and so we created small guerrilla. Me and my husband. My husband does cinematography, videography, media. I do design, and we both do um, audience connection marketing. We both have a lot of experience in that, and that's the story how we formed Small Gorilla. But even in our early days, we were very focused on the big story, like making a really huge cinematography piece for our clients and really beautiful work. But we realized that it wasn't hidden. It was beautiful. Oh, that's so beautiful, but it wasn't getting clients for our clients. And so we had to go back to the drawing board. And this is where I think our origin story really shines, because we had this one client. She paid us a good amount of money, and we came up with this beautiful trailer. It was like movie style. She's trying to sell things. She made a book, and she was in e-commerce, and it was beautiful, and she won awards for it, but it did not move the needle. And so we had to go back to the drawing board and see like what is going to move the needle. Beautiful work is good, but beauty and cash flow is two different things, right? And so we went back to the drawing board and realized that it's small, short stories that tell the heart of the brand and that connect to your audience in less than know how you solve problems is the name of the game. So instead of doing big, giant production pieces now, like long pieces. We do short, everyday stories that show the heart of the brand and that connects you to your audience through how you solve their problem. And so that's what has been working with our clients. For us, that's how we do marketing now. And so I feel like that's our true origin story, where we really started knowing what we're doing.
So, so you started out doing the larger, I guess what we could call the traditional marketing, going big and everything, and you realize that it now needs to come down into a smaller micro type thing, and you tell stories. Tell us a little bit about how stories intertwine with the marketing.
Yeah, I think when you said something about this is what's the new way to do marketing, what's the new curve, and I don't know if it's new or is this becoming more popular, or just people are just waking up to the truth that humans connect these stories. And no matter if you're trying to connect on a business level, connect personally, connect in any way, stories should be the center of that, because that's how humans connect. That's the best way that oxytocin, it's like all the, okay, I don't want to give big words, but all of the chemicals in our brains and our hearts and how we connect as humans happen and spark when we tell stories. And so we kind of knew, I studied storytelling for social good and things like that when I was in school, my second time in school. So I knew that, but I was trying to make these big, large stories, like big productions, and this is our origin story, and we realized that it's more trustworthy, and it shows the heart of the brand to tell small micro stories, and meaning like, this is what I'm working on. Oh, this is what happened to my day today. This is what sparked for me. This is my challenge. This is who I help. This is my champion. We champion for this person. This is my client's work. This small, how you live your life. We live our lives in stories. And so just sharing a little bit, especially with the entrepreneurs that we work with, they're more solo entrepreneurs, smaller companies. And so just sharing your day with your customers and letting them know that you're fighting for them every day, and that you're thinking about them every day, and how so, and what challenges you come against. And it's just sharing your life stories with your people.
I like that. Sharing your everyday stories with your clients. I think that, I know it helps me if the people that I do business with just tells me a little bit about what they're going through, and the little things that can help me make it through the little minutia and the stuff that goes on. But if you can tell me a story, I'm going to pay attention.
Mm-hmm. And I find that that's I want to say true for everyone, but I don't like to speak in absolutes. But it's been found that story, it's called what's the word for it? Coupling. It's like basically when a storyteller is telling a story, and a listener or the audience is listening, they put themselves in the shoes, the empathy shoes of you, and they live that story as if it's them going through the story. And so it's just a connection, a deeper connection that happens through storytelling versus facts. And step one is this, step two is that, now you do this, da, da, da. But if you can tell me a story first, then my heart's connected with your heart. I'm feeling, whether it's a customer story where a customer is going through things, your story, how you help the customer, whatever, just a little short story, it helps the heart open up, helps trust build, helps barriers go down, and it opens up your customers to listen to the step one, step two. It almost gives us more leverage to be able to go to the next level, where it's instructional, whatever it is, informational, or educating your client on a product. If you can enhance with story, it opens up the buyer's heart.
TK said yes, 100%. She 100% agrees. So give us an example. You were telling the story of how you moved from, well, I listened to your podcast that you did with on another lady's show. And you had told the story of how you you just told us the story of how you and your husband came up with Small Gorilla, but then you started in that podcast, you told the story of leaving one uh, genre of business or one type of work to another type of work, because you used to be a choreographer.
Right. Okay. I'm like, wait, what story? I tell stories all the time. So I'm like, wait, what story is this? Yes. Okay. You had a question around that transition?
Yeah, because you transition from being a choreographer, because some people need to know that it's okay to change, to shift, to be able to move. Okay, I need to move. I need to make a shift. So tell us how that went.
Yeah. So I have always been a dancer. Well, I don't say always because I don't know if I came out the womb dancing, but since I was like third grade, I knew I wanted to be a choreographer. That was my dream. That I was focused on that. Um, Even when I came with challenges in my life, I was teen mom, and just lots of things people can come up, well, women can come up with, come up against. I still knew I wanted to be a professional choreographer, so I always continued on that dream. And I pursued that, and I was able to accomplish that, and I was doing my dream. And for so long, um, the dream became like almost like routine, and I was just doing it because I was doing it. But I was like, "Hey, what's up, dancer?" I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" They don't know my name, but they just know I'm a dancer, and so that became my identity, and that was fine. But at some point, like I wanted to do other things. Like I wanted to drum, and I wanted to do brand storytelling. Well, not I didn't know storytelling, but I wanted to do branding and colors. I had this affinity for design, but I didn't know how to hop the tracks, and so I was going full speed ahead. I was over dance ministries at my church. I was have my own companies. I was still traveling, and then I got a opportunity to go to the Czech Republic for a 3-week dance. I was teaching a dance workshop for 3 weeks. I'm like, okay, let's do it. I did it, and when I say I did it, I went there, and the pace was like, I'm in LA. Back then I was in LA. Now I'm in Orange County. The pace is so fast here, right? When I went to the Czech Republic, everything just like slowed down. It was very slow pace, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what do we do? It was just we rehearsed, we ate lunch, we walked to the corner store. Everything was like back in time because we're in Vicentin, in Czech Republic, and it's a small town. The bakery opens at a certain time. You have to go to just like one store. It was just really slow pace, and I had a lot of time to think and a lot of time to just contemplate. I had a lot of free time, a lot of spaciousness, and during that time, I'm like, what is it? I don't know. I feel like stuff was stirring in me. And so I knew all this time, right before I left, I told some of the dancers, like, man, I really want to do branding. I still don't know how to start or how to do it. But I took that trip. Then I got back to LA and had a panic attack going from the airport. We're stuck in traffic in the freeway. I'm like, I gotta get out of this car and walk. Like it was a big change coming back to that fast-paced life. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't. And then I just quit everything. I quit all my teams, the things that I was leading, I was over. I was pretty much 90% of what I was doing was dance. And I just quit all of it. And I had some time to, I guess you would call it what's it called? Like a retreat. Like I didn't do anything. A sabbatical, people will call it, I guess.
Yes.
And I took a month off. I didn't do anything. And then I was like, you know what? If people were like, when are you coming back? We need you. I'm like, yeah, I ain't coming back. I'm gonna start branding. And so sometimes I tell that story because sometimes you need to slow down in order to switch tracks and go the other direction. It's hard to switch lanes when you're going full speed ahead on one track. And this is what you're used to. You're used to going this direction. And it wasn't until, because I've been wanting to do brand for a long time, I just know how to get started. And so when I went to check and when everything slowed down, I came back. I was like, oh yeah, I stopped now. I can take a breather. I can look around, and now we're going to go the other direction. And so I was able to switch lanes, and I've been doing that. I'm bad with time, y'all. I'm bad with years, but I've been doing that for a few years now, and it worked out well. Like I wrote down 4 people that I wanted to work with, and I'm working with all four now, or I have worked with all four. It's just been a blessing, and just if I never would have went to check and switch lanes, I'm not sure I'll be where I am today.
Mm.
And so you talked about that you worked with the four people that you wanted to work with, and I've heard of two of them, and some of our audience may know who they are too. One of them is Bernadette.
Bernadette Gila. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bernadette Gia. She's a famous author, and then the other one is Seth Godin,
Mm-hmm.
who most people know who he is as well. How did that come about?
So it's not. It's funny because I say that with not so quick, because it wasn't like I pursued them or I was like, hey, let's work together. It didn't come about like that. It was very secret
Okay.
and internal. It was very like, oh, okay, I'm doing branding and marketing now. Who would I love to work with? I was a fan first. I was like, they were
Mm.
my mentors from afar. So I wrote down Jada Selner, but she was the founder of Simple Green Smoothie. She just came out of her book. Where's my book? Oh, I don't have it with me. She just came out with her book right now. And she's a best-selling author as well. She has a women's she does women's coaching. And so her thing's all about lead with love over metrics. And when she talked, I was like, oh, she was the first person. I'm like, oh, I need to work with her. I don't care about nobody else, famous, whatever. I was like, when she spoke, the things that were in her heart were the same thing in my heart. And so that attracted me. I was like, I
Mm.
don't care what it is, I'm gonna work with her. And then when I found out, like, oh, that's an investment to work with her, I was like, ooh, can I do it? But I still was able to take a leap of faith and work with her. And then just many blessings and things happened. I got to lead teams with her, and she called me to be on her leadership team the second year around. And I got to do many like planning and cool things. So that's my first mentor, and I had wrote her name down as well as Bernadette Giowa and Seth Godin and Bob Goff. And so Bob Goff was the last one. Well, he's the second to last on the list. But I just knew, like, I don't know what that looked like to work with them, but I just wanted to get closer because their character and who they are as people is what drew me in and what challenged me as well as inspired me. And so I was like, if I don't know if there's any capacity, and it wasn't even like a focused prayer. I just like, I want to work with these people, just get closer. So I started reading their content, getting closer, saying yes to their communities. And then I look up this past or maybe last year, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, first off, when Seth called me, I was just like blown away. Like, is this a prank? He emailed me and I was like, is this real? I can't even, like, is this for real? And I was tripping out. That's a whole story by itself. And that's a whole story. And then Jada asked me to be on her leadership was like surreal. I'm like, really? Because it was a financial investment to be in her program, and I got to work with her and plan, and I got to do it, be in the program, and so that was a blessing. And then Bernadette, she's such a kind heart soul, and I get to partner with her. I still pinch myself because that's who I partner with currently. A lot of my work I do, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is a dream come true. And then Bob Goff, like I get to go to the Oaks and volunteer with him, or with not just with him, but with the Oaks, and be a part of the team there and help out. And so just to be around the characteristics of people I look up to, I feel like it feeds my soul, and I'm grateful.
Wow. So I'm just saying, wow. We have a couple of comments here. TK over in the clubhouse, she said, wow, write the vision.
Come
And
on, write the vision.
right. And we're going to be getting into some of that too about writing the vision. And Mark over on our Facebook page says, my life has been all about shifts, but even though I didn't see it at the time, it was always a convergence, each incarnation building to and revealing another one.
So good. Yeah. And I want to say this too. Another thing for me with marketing now and just human connection now is not about the guru. It's not about the one person. It's really about, we all have wisdom inside of us. And so whoever sparks, like I say Bernadette Jiwa, people don't necessarily know who that is, but I'm like, she's my hero. I have all her books, just because who she is in her art. And so it's not about like the most famous person or whatever. It's about who aligns with your spirit, who aligns with your heart. And then just how can you be generous with them and receive from them. And so it's really about, I have wisdom to give, they have wisdom, and see how we can spark, right? And so just like how Mark just dropped some dimes, wisdom, like I honor every human I come in contact with. I think it's a divine connection, and I find divinity in everyone. And now I say divinity, like you got wisdom for me, so shine, so I can learn. And I treat everyone that I come in contact with like, ooh, what are you here to teach me? Right. And so I think that's another part of the new marketing that is not about, let me come and teach you the steps. Is no, let's share together. This is what has worked for me. And if you need that, let's roll. And I would love for you to share it with me, what you've been working with. And I learned from you. And so I think it's a connection, it's an exchange, and it's not a hierarchy so much,
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so Coach Mary Ma, she's one of my movement maker family members. Thank you, Coach Mary, for joining in with us today. She's joining over on our YouTube channel. And this is exciting because we are looking to engage more with our community here and bringing in people such as yourself to help move the needle for them. And so just like you said, it's a win-win for everybody. We are all in this together. And if we can help one another get to where we need to be, you know what I mean? We're moving the needle. Terry, did you have any question for Rika?
I was impressed, Rika, when you said that everybody has a story and that it doesn't have to be earth-shattering. Because I know a lot of times when I'm thinking about sharing something, I think, well, is that really significant? And so I'd like your feedback on that. What do you think about people's small stories, or something happened to me today that I want to share with you, that kind of thing?
Yes. I'm so glad you asked that question, Terry, because this is what I've learned from I call her my friend and mentor. She don't like when I call her mentor, but she's my mentor, Bernadette. She's the queen of story, and just being a story skill coach in Story Republic, I found a power in small stories, right? And so when we have our big stories, like I have my big story because I have some trauma from my young life, right? But sometimes when you tell, like, I got in a big accident, this happened, I was a teen mom, blah, 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 whatever, people are like, woo, that's a lot. And they can feel that, but they don't necessarily relate. It might not have happened to them. They might not have the big story yet. I think everybody has painful stuff people go through, but they might not have experienced grief yet or anything like that. And so there's a disconnect, even though it's a heart. It's always opens hearts, but there hasn't like, oh, me too. So small stories are an opportunity for us to be like, oh, me too. So we have right now going on 7-day story challenge, everyday story challenge. So it means we write stories every day. It has to happen that same day. So everybody's writing stories in Story Republic right now about just everyday life. And I have been participating, and I'm like, wow, I wrote a little story. Like I'll go into the store and getting bread and sugars, which I know is a bad thing. I woke up and it was like what I call it, sabotage, and people were just laughing like, this is so true. And it opens humanity and connection. This is small, like everyday stories. And so there's power in your small stories.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because it's encouraging, because a lot of times when you go to share a story, you feel like that's not big enough, it's not important enough, or people are not going to want to hear that. You know what I mean? So I'm glad to hear that these small stories are significant.
And I think the significance comes from the learning. We learn stories, and not only how we connect, is how we learn. Like I think it
Hmm.
said in the Bible that Jesus didn't speak to anybody except for through a story, right? And so not only
Yes.
does it connect like me to you, it also teaches us about our own lives and how we operate as humans. And it can teach someone else about like, oh, I see it, me too. And like, oh, I see that nugget of wisdom. Nuggets of wisdom are wrapped in small stories. And so every time we share in stories, whether it's around the table, on social media, or just from kids to from you. I love telling my daughter Avari, she's here with me, stories, because she's like, no way. And she's learning things I want to teach her
Hmm.
without me actually going, because Avari she's strong-willed leader. So if I'm like, no, you know what you need to do is, oh mom, I need to she just go back. But if I tell her a story, when a time that I went through something, she's like, oh, she gets it and she receives it in. And so it's just small stories are how we exchange wisdom as well.
Oh, wow, I
Wow.
like that. A couple of comments here. We have a comment from TK. She says, I am so grateful for Biz Chicks, has always been so gracious, helping me along the way. And TK is also very gracious with her services as well. And then Mark has a comment here. He says,
Mhm.
essentially, we are all living different chapters of the same story. It's the hero's journey.
Mhm. Yeah.
Interesting.
I like that idea too, because when things are challenging for us, we can always remember that any good stories have challenges, and is when you overcome that you have a story to tell. Like if it's like if this is what like I don't want to say who said it, but like if you go to the store, went to the store, picked some milk up, came back home, that's not really a story. But if you go to the store, you pick the milk up, you drop the milk, you like shoot. And I had to go back, and you know what I'm saying? Like the challenge is when that makes it a story. When it's just like I went outside, walked around, and then it was the end of the day. It was like not a great story, right? So even when we're going through harder challenges in our lives, if we look at our life as stories, I like to look at my days as stories. Like what story am I telling today, and how can I lean into the story that I want to tell? I use story for everything: mindset, journaling, vision casting, everything. But if you can look at your whole life as a story, like how Mark said, you can kind of like, oh yeah, challenges. How am I going to rise up as the hero in my own story and overcome?
Wow. So you are working on something called vision casting. Tell us about that.
So I'm having a vision cast weekend this Saturday. Um, I think it's funny because one thing, even though I do marketing for my business, I really am a fan of storytelling in your life, as far as like future storytelling, like really leaning into a vision that you want to experience in life. And so every year for the last, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 years, I've did a vision board, and I've always
Mhm,
tried to make it, how can I create this vision board and keep, not just do it for the new year, right? 'Cause I do
mhm.
vision board quarterly. I update it quarterly, but how can I take this vision board and create it in a way that it reminds me, not just on New Year's and not just the beginning of the year or the end of the year, and then forget about it. Like sometimes, like back in the day, I would make it with magazines and all that, put on my wall, and then after like a month or so, I'm walking past it like it ain't nothing. I don't want to look at it anymore, right? And so then at the end of the year, you're like, why in the world? Oh yeah, did I accomplish that? And you ain't thought about it for 9 months. You made it at the beginning, and then you ain't thought about it for 9 months. And so I was trying to like think, uh, especially in the last few years I did this. I've made a virtual vision board, and I made it where I automatically see it every day. So I do something called Power, which I do like in the morning time: pray, worship, read. It's called Power Jam, journal, align, and meditate. And so when I align, I look at my vision board and just go through the images and the words and keep it right in front of me. It's kind of like keep the vision right here. And the cool thing is, even when I don't know how it will work out, a lot of the things that on my vision board has come to pass. Like for like, okay, I don't want this good material, but my dream car, my pup, like a lot of the things on my little vision board. I'm like, oh my gosh, my pup looks just like my pup on the vision board. I should show y'all my pup. I should do a side by side of it, my pup and the pup from my vision board. And I had no idea how he was going to come in my life, but it's kind of cool to see, like, wow, that's really cool. And I don't know about how it all works. It's not really magic, but I think it's keeping the vision in front of you and then asking yourself reflective questions. What action are you taking? How are you moving closer? It's taking you closer to your vision or away from it. What projects can I take on for quarterly planning? And so my Vision Cast Weekend is all about just sharing my process, how I do a vision board virtually and how I do it automatic. It comes to me weekly. This year it's going to come to me weekly and daily. How's it going? What are you working on? What's the challenge? How can you overcome it? And I do a little quick 2-minute, keep the vision in front of me, answer self-reflective questions, and it helps me to move the needle on my dreams.
I think we want to see the puppy.
Oh, Joshua took him to school with Avari, took a drop off at school. But I'll send pictures for the social media.
Okay, so then we'll post the posting of the board
side by side.
The side by side.
Okay, I'll do that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Now, so if people want to get involved in this vision workshop or this Vision Cast Weekend, is it open for people to join?
Yeah, so I'll give you the details. It's open. I try to keep it small because we're going to do a lot of reflective, a lot of like journaling and work in partners. And I don't like it too big because then it gets people are not feeling that they're seen. And we're going to be able to share and declare and all the things I've learned from my mentors of how to share the vision and make it plain and keep it in front of you, as well as journal to get. Sometimes we think like, oh, I want this, and you really just say that and you don't really know what's inside your heart. Like, I think journaling and taking time to really dig deep is important. And so we're keeping it small at 24, at the max 24. And it's small as 5. It doesn't matter to me because I'm doing this with people or without, but I decided to open up some space, a special little circle, so we can do it together. I think it'll be fun that way.
Wow. So is the Vision Cast Weekend, is that the link that I got with your bio? Is that the link that I got with your bio? Is that the one that
yeah, so let me visioncastweekend.com. I just put it up. Hopefully
I have it here. I'll put it out.
Okay. I can put it on the chat maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can put it in the chat. It's in the and then we put it out also. And I'm going to put it over on Clubhouse too for the people who are over there. So
yeah, and I think it's going to be really fun because not only are we doing vision boards together and doing reflective breakouts, share and declare. We're going to do a little bit of scare people away. Like Bernadette's like, I'm scared now because we're going to do a little dancing to kind of energy and see what's really in our hearts. We're going to have some games. It's going to be fun. And so it's not going to be like this boring, I think human connection is just never boring to me, but I think we'll add some little bit of spice, some goodie giveaways for anybody who refers friends. Go ahead. Sorry, Terry.
That's okay. I have a question. What is the difference between vision casting and vision boards? Is there a difference? Yeah,
and the thing is, I'm not even calling this one. I'm doing at Vision Cast Weekend a vision board. I'm calling it a vision map because not only are we going, vision boards traditionally where you take images that inspire you from magazines or from whatever, and you place them there. You say 20 pounds. I'm gonna make 20K, whatever it is. And so that's a vision board, and just it visually represents the goals that you're trying to accomplish for the year. For me, vision map is very similar. It's virtually creating an image board where it represents your goals, but I'm calling it a vision map because we're also creating a list of actions that we can take to go towards our dreams. And then I'm showing people how to do an app that's going to either you to choose daily or weekly. Just bring that picture that we're going to create together right back to you where you see it. and you're like, oh yeah, how? And then you could be one question or 5 questions, but how is it going? And for me is how is it going? What's challenging? What's going well? Because it's always good to celebrate what's going well. How can you take micro action today? And so that comes back to me throughout the year, so I can always refine the board. You can change it. Like if sometimes I get closer to the vision, I'm like, ooh, I got it. I don't really want it. Let me switch it up a little bit. So it's a way. Vision mapping and vision through vision casting is really similar to vision board, but I'm making it more interactive where I can keep it in front of my eyes throughout the year and hopefully take action and see a bigger difference in a traditional vision board.
Wow.
Gotcha.
Well, we always like to ask a couple of questions. You told us how you got started. You told us about doing stories, and stories is the new, well, not the new way, but a better way to do our marketing, telling stories every day. So we have one other question that we always ask our guests. What is the one thing in your purse or briefcase you cannot do without?
I cannot do without.
Mhm.
Oh snap! I don't like my phone. I leave my phone everywhere, so it ain't that. You know what? The most thing I take with me, no matter where I'm going, is my laptop because I create on it. I make, I write. Even when I was in the forest, like I have like Chabuco, I have like this canyon in the nature. People are like, oh,
Mhm.
that's so cool. Yeah, you bring your laptop in nature. I'm like, this is my nature office because I like to create. It's my way. It's who I am as a person. And so my laptop represents not so much work, but creativity. Like I like to design,
Mhm.
make stuff. And so I take it everywhere. So it's probably not the best popular answer, but I take
No, but it's
vacations
true.
everywhere. It's true. It's true.
Right, but it's your story. And
Yeah.
Mark has a comment here that I hope Mark says, fantastic. We sometimes like to pretend that we are characters in someone else's story rather than the author of our own. Write the story where you are. Write the story where you are the hero emerging victorious over the challenge. And that's vision.
Woo! I got chills, Mark. Yo, that's exactly what we're doing. Like I think about storytelling, yes, in marketing and the things that we lived in the past. I think about future storytelling. This is what I'm doing for VisionCast. It's like, what story do you want to lean into and live out? How can you write that story and then have images to go along with it? Because to me, when I wake up because not only the stories connect to the outside, stories connect to us and our brains, right? So when I'm telling
Mhm.
myself a story, I write. It's funny, you guys. I probably think I'm weird to say this, but I write like, oh, she woke up before the sun. That's what I say. She woke up before the sun. She beat it to work. She got her work out of her. She expressed all that she needed to express, and then she connected and had fun. It had joy at the end of the day. So I write little stories to myself for the day that I can lean into and make that a fulfillment. And so like I love the authoring of your own story where you're emerging as a hero. And that's one of the things as humans, we have the awesome power of not only living our stories and telling our past stories, but writing and rewriting new stories from here on out. We have now, what story are you going to write? What story are you going to live that you will want to tell? Like, you know?
Right.
Mm.
This is
Oh,
good.
the author of our own fate. Okay. I like it.
And
So,
things come against us, right? Challenges. There's like, oh, I was running today and my leg, I was at the gym this morning and my leg kind of cramped up. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do now? So I started just shaking as I ran, shaking my leg. And so you can write something and have a picture and things can come opposition can come up to challenge that vision. But then you have to think about how can I get around it? How as the hero of my own story, how am I going to combat this, right? And so we get to rewrite and write as we go. And so, yeah.
So in the Vision Cast weekend, will we be learning some of the things about writing our story? I guess because that's casting your vision. You know what I mean? Writing writing my story forward. I like the
Right.
idea of writing the story. I'm gonna write the story of what's gonna happen to me tomorrow.
Right. And I
Mhm,
say,
mhm.
I say, I do today. So this, or even you can write it tomorrow, but I think about in the morning, I'm writing my story for the day. Like, what is it going to look like? And then that
Mhm.
helps me to have a commitment to live out the story. And then I can, it's so funny because then I can have the story to tell. Because sometimes you like, my life is kind of boring. I just watch TV all day. Like, what story do you want to be able to tell or share? Right.
Mhm.
Wow.
So live those stories. Like I'm going to the Trabuco, doing the hike. I'm taking the dog. It might be challenging. But we'll see what happens. Right. It's a more of an adventurous story that I would like to tell versus I just sat on my computer all day, you know? And so it helps
Wow.
me to live a more life that I'm willing, that I'm leaning into the story I want to tell. Like, what's the story I want to tell? Like, I'm going to Australia in February, and so it's just a lot. It helps me to live into my goals, into my full self.
I like this because I've just learned a couple of things. We don't have to allow life to overwhelm us. We can write the life that we want. I'm liking this.
Hmm.
Carlos said, "Good morning, good morning, Carlos." And then Coach
Dr.
Mary said,
Tachi's.
"Wow, great insight." At Mark Ward,
Mhm.
Dr. Tachi is here. Hey, Dr. Tachi. And Coach Mary said, "The beauty of writing your own story, you choose what you want it to be."
Come on, Coach Mary. Yes. And
Hey,
then
Jerry Scott.
who's that?
We got Jerry
Oh,
Scott.
Jerry Scott.
Hey,
Hi, Jerry.
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 And I
And
think it's fun too to share those stories aloud. Like it's one thing to keep it close to your heart, and it's another commitment to tell somebody. Right. And so I remember I wanted to go to Bob Goff's Dream Big. And I was like, I didn't know how I was gonna do it. It was like it's like 4K to go for one weekend. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going, but I'm going this year. And I would tell everybody. I was at my little retreats and my little business groups. I'm like, guess what, y'all? I'm going to Bob Golf. Guess what? I'm going to Dream Big. They're like, what you? I'm going to Dream Big. I love Bob. I was just talking up and just be so flowing with joy and hope. And no, I just knew in my heart. I didn't know how it's going to happen. And then people were like, hey, girl, I want somebody to talk about my work, how you talk about Bob's work. I love Bob, right? And so Dream Big was, I just knew I was going and I didn't know how. And then a week later, I mean, it was a week into the event, and Bob and I still don't have the money to go 4K, right? I didn't have it to go. I'm like, oh, I want to go so bad, but it's closing up. The seats are, they're packing up. There's only a few seats left. And then another event came in LA, and the lady was like, she's a like on camera flow coach for like $200. I'm like, ooh, I can go to that instead. Same weekend as Bob's. And then Josh called me out. My husband Joshua called me out. He's like, so are you believing for Bob, or like are you just selling for this? Or do you really want to go to Bob's? I'm like, we're 1 week away. I ain't got the money. Well, I'd rather do something that weekend, right? And I'm just like, oh. So I told the lady, like, no, I'm not gonna go the $200 event. And I'm still holding on to a thread, right? And like a few days before, we got a good client, and he's like, Josh popping the check, pop, look, come, you going to Bob Golf? And so it was so cool to see this, and I was just so expressive and so free of telling people I'm going to Bob Golf this year, and it's the last Dream Big of the year. There was no more. And then it's funny because it's 2019, so it was November 2019. I barely made it in. I had to call the people like, okay, the checks will hit this many days. Can you hold my spot? I was like, I slid in, right? And so I slid in, and not little did I know, 2019, that was the last Bob Dream Big they were going to be for years, because this whole 2020 didn't have any. And so it was the last one. And so I'm so glad I got in. But I think it's the beauty of, yes, writing your own story, writing your story for yourself,
Mhm.
but also sharing it and being like, tell other people. It's scary, but to share it gets another level of faith, another level of commitment. And sometimes you don't know how it's going to happen, but you just continue to share what's on your heart, share your story, and let it be.
now this is really good. I got a comment here from Mark. He says, I always frame it as tonight. when you're about to go to bed, what do you want to be saying about the day that just passed? What do you need to do to make it so?
Nice.
Mhm.
Future stories. I love it. Come on, Mark.
This is really good. I've learned a lot here today, and I hope all of you who are watching here live and on the replay can take something and use this. And Jerry Scott said, walking by faith. Um,
Mhm.
are you pushing button too, Terry? I think I'm pushing and you're pushing button. I
No, I
don't
am
know.
not.
Oh, okay, there it is. So it, this was a really good reminder. Writing out the story
Hmm.
that you want to live. Write the story you want to live.
That's the vision, y'all. For real. I love it.
And then go to the Vision Cast weekend. Again, we put the link up in the chat up here.
Mhm.
And if you're just coming in, you probably won't see that. So I'm going to put it down here again. But go, you sign up for the Vision Cast weekend. I think, what is it, $35?
Mm-hmm. Try to make it affordable for everybody, and and if it's for you, it's not for everybody. So
Right.
be down for writing the feature stories and making vision boards and keeping yourself accountable to
Mm.
the action on throughout the year. Then it might be for you.
Right, because I'm liking the tools where it pops up and you get a reminder to answer the questions on, and instead of like the old way of doing it, you write it down and then maybe you don't touch it for a long time and you never see it, or you don't, because I have a little book, but I have to stop and pull the book out.
Right. I'm a fan of having or whatever's important to you getting delivered to you. So I basically it's an interrupter. So you're going about your day. Sometimes we get busy and sometimes we forget to pick up our vision. I have a vision journal. Sometimes I don't pick it up if I'm working a launch or like I'm helping somebody launch and I'm just inundated with stuff, too much stuff for the day. But when it comes to me, beep, it's time to review your vision, and you see the image. Even if you don't want to look at it, you looking at it, and then it's just two questions, like between 1 and 5 questions to say how's it going, what's challenging, what do you need to do now today, a micro action to move it forward. How can you make space? What kind of support can you enlist? And so it helps to keep it in front of your eyes. I think that's important because sometimes I looked at what's it, Eventbrite. There's like 30 different vision board parties happening in my city in LA. And I'm like,
Mhm.
that's well and good. I love that people are doing it. And how can we keep it in front of us, not just for January, not if you're lucky in February, but throughout the year to keep putting action and telling stories that align with your vision.
I like that, keeping it. So you're going to teach us what tools to use to make it.
We setting it up. We're gonna make the vision board first, and then we're gonna set it up together. So
Okay.
we're gonna be accountable to each other, to ourselves. I love the idea of self-reflective self-coaching because sometimes, you gotta encourage yourself. You gotta be on it, keep it in front of you. So.
Wow. So anybody interested in going to visioncastweekend.com is where you need to go. It is in the chat. You can get the details there. And you can also reach out to Enrica if you want to ask her some questions about storytelling for your marketing. You can go to smallgorilla.net. Is that where
smallgorillamarketing.com. I can put that in the link too. That's
Okay.
that's actually full of stories, little small stories.
Oh, great.
And
Right.
then about.smallgorillamarketing.com. I'll write that too.
Okay.
That
Cool.
is where the hope I spelled that right. Smallgorillamarketing.com. Yeah. So the about is really about who we are as a company, workshops we are launching this new year. But smallgorillamarketing.com is just our newsletter. So it has lots of examples of stories, short stories, and things like that.
Well, I appreciate the time you've taken out today to bring this to our community here. We are at BizChicks. We always want to help you take the hassle out of your hustle. There's a lot of stuff that can be a deterrent, and having industry leaders like Enrica coming in to share with us, to help us. You know, we've seen the traditional stuff, but we need a refresh, a reboot. And thank you for coming and doing that today. And now, if you are not a part of the BizChix community, you can do that. And we're making it real simple because we're playing with the new, we have our Heartbeat community. But if you're not kind of ready for that yet, just go to bizchix.live, subscribe, and you'll get notifications from us on that community as well. That's really easy for you to get in. And we got a couple of thank yous here from Mark. He says, thank you, Enrica. Thank you, Francine and Terralina. I appreciate you better and better. Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Dropping dimes and wisdom. I appreciate you.
Yes. And then we have Coach Mary Ma. Thank you for sharing your journey, Enrica. You are a great inspiration and to keep growing. Thanks, you, Coach Mary, for dropping in with us. We do coffee conversations on Mondays right here. You can go to bizchix.live, hit the subscribe button, also and turn on the notifications. And we are using the community tool because, you know, TJ, who's coming on tomorrow, she's talking to us about social media, and people wanted to know about how to build a community. In the simple communities, use your YouTube channel because you can post over there just like you do on Instagram. I was like, oh, then you can send notifications and you'll get the notifications. And so we just wanted to say thank you, everybody. If you got questions, you'll be seeing some stuff from Terry and I. We've got some things that'll help you with your tech coming up. So just check your emails and your text messages and Instagram, and wherever you are, we will be there. Any final words that you'd like to share, Terry or Rika? Oh, Jerry.
We just want to say that it's so important for you to go to the front of your own line. Take the time to join this vision workshop. It can only enhance your year to come. And we have been inside so long. Come on out. Come on out of the cave and join us for this vision workshop with Enrica.
Yep, I'm gonna make sure I put this back in the chat because I don't think I put it in there. Oh yeah, you put it in there.
I put it in there.
I just want to say thank you for having me. This has been not just encouraging and inspirational from our morning, but it's been just empowering. And I love that the conversation, like to me, new marketing is about having everyone at the table, having conversations, from the audience members to the people on the, on the squares, I should say. It's just a good human connection moment. And I'm super grateful and appreciative for you guys having me. Thank you.
So thank you. And we'll do this again. You'll probably see me in the Vision Cast coming up this Saturday. And it's later in the afternoon. So you can still get your Saturday morning things accomplished and then join in.
Beautiful. All right, guys. Remember, it's okay to make money in your business. And we're here to help you run a profitable business that's fun to run and take the hassle out of your hustle. We'll see you tomorrow for Marketing with Terry Johnson Online, all the way from New York City. Thank you again, Enrica, and Francine, and for all of you in the audience. We just want to say thank you for listening and for joining in the conversation. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.